Welcome to the Gifted Woman podcast with your host, Jay Menz. This is the place where you can come into full alignment with who you are without a mask. This is the place to discover what your unique gifts are. So let's go.
That's good.
Okay, so welcome. Today we have Bre Cain, and I got to introduce you to this CEO and founder of the Cain Collective. So Bre is a mom of 3 young girls who believes the myth that motherhood comes at a sacrifice or cost is BS. She's on a mission to empower women around the world that they can have it all. When she found herself knee deep in motherhood and wondering who the F she was, she found her way back by getting proudly selfish, which made her a better and happier mom. Bre helps moms launch, book out, and scale their businesses using time, team, automation, and funnel strategy without having to trade their hours for dollars. She's cracked the code on having it all in motherhood and loves giving the keys to her students. She went from $70 a month to $100K a month in just 13 months and has generated 7 figures of sales in less than 2 years and over $600K cash collected. Bre is a believer that the bigger you dream, everything along the way that you want becomes a byproduct. You'll see Bre publish her book soon and build multiple future 7-figure income streams. Because once you catch the anything is possible bug, well, anything is possible. Woo-wee! Ain't that the truth? So just hearing all that, it's like to go from 70 a month to 100K in 13 months. I want to know, how did that work on your nervous system?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the crazy part was that even when I was earning, even before I had a $70 a month, a couple of months before that, I had a $66 a month, which I was so excited about. The whole time I was telling myself and writing in my affirmation journal, thank you for my 20K months. Thank you for my 20K months. So it's like I had already calibrated my identity and the action with when I started, it was 20K a month. But then in the midst of that, as I started generating income in my business, I essentially became the 100K month like business owner, CEO, leader, visionary before I actually was. And so to be truthful, when I had it, it was like, oh, there it is. Like,
Yeah.
welcome home. I was expecting you.
Yes, totally. And then was there any pressure to maintain that, or did it feel like, okay, this is cool, this is where we're going?
Yeah, both, honestly.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I think that's something people don't really talk about when you are. Well, it's funny. I had my first 30K month, and that was like the big kind of milestone. We went from a 17K month to a 30K month, and I had just kind of put it on a pedestal. I was like, everything's going to change. I'm going to be a different person, and it's going to fix like, all my problems. Nothing changed. I was the exact same person after. And so kind of the same too, like when we hit the 100K month, it's almost like this letdown. If you not in a letdown in like an emotional letdown, but like the energy and like you're like, what do I do next? And almost
Yeah.
a little bit feels like unstable ground because you're like, wait, like what, you put so much energy into like hitting the thing, and then it's like, but what happens after the thing? And for
Yeah.
sure, like I remember feeling pressure both times when I had hit like the 2 big milestones I set after. It was like I got to keep this up. And I just remember one of my mentors telling me, this was, I think, after I'd had my first 15K month. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that again. That was so crazy. She's like,
Yeah.
you've done it once. Of course you can do it again. Like, oh yeah, of course.
Ooh, that gave me goosebumps because it's so true. And it's like our mind is playing all these different games on us while it's happening. And then I don't know about you, but when like I had 132K a month 2 years ago, and I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
It just felt like you're saying, it felt like cool. And then also,
Yeah.
this is like what people make in a year. And
Yeah.
then it was a lot of cascade of thoughts that I had never
Yeah.
thought previously.
Yes.
So I'm kind of wondering, is that like, did you, after you've been hitting this consistently now, what is the mentality that goes into keeping that level and that identity that you had created? And are you creating a new identity or are you doing the same things?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Is it's because I've always found, and kind of like in my introduction, that for me, I have to dream really big and essentially like make the moves as at those big goals, and everything along the way is a byproduct. And so if I was focused on staying at 100K months, it probably would go down like in my mind. And
I hear
so
you.
I'm focused on like 200K months. What does that look like? What moves do I need to make? Offers, boundaries, delivering to clients, all of that. And it's like the 100K months are just a byproduct of that.
Yeah. And when I had my aunt say to me one time, she was like, "When is it enough?" And that kind of jarred me. I was like,
Mhm.
is there a number on that? Is it a feeling or is it a drive to be like infinite possibility? So,
Yes.
what is your take on that statement or that question?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So my thing is that once you see what's possible, you can't unsee it.
Yes.
And you've done something and you're like, wow, that was so cool. Like, what else could I do? And like, I think, just like you said, I don't think there's any limit. And
Hmm.
I'm sure you've deeply studied this too, of just like law of attraction and like desire. Like, if we're not desiring things, we're actually like dying. And so it's
Yes.
good to always have goals and like grow and expand and evolve and change is like a very healthy thing.
Yeah, you do get really stagnant when you don't have much going on. You're like, and
Yeah.
when you are directionless, it's
Yeah.
hard to move the needle, but when you know where you're going. So, what are some of the identity things you do beyond just writing, thank you for these 200K months now? What else are you doing to become that woman who has the 200K?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I love to script, where I'm basically just like, oh my gosh, I just had a 60K day or like whatever that is,
Yeah.
and like live it out. I've used the 369 journal a lot, which is kind of, writing that down, but also EFT tapping, love it. And that really, I discovered it soon after I started my business and was feeling that because I've always been one to just like, I'm going to invest, I'm going to make the moves, even if I don't like it doesn't make sense
Yeah.
realistically
Hmm.
because I don't want a realistic life. But there is that emotional, like, oh my gosh, like I don't see it yet. Like I know I'm going first. And so EFT tapping really helped me when I was feeling like anxiety around just like the going first part. I still love it, especially if I feel kind of that emotional imbalance. Um, I also am a big fan, and I will be the first to say too, is that a lot of my business has been built in my masculine. Like I love systems, strategy, structure, team, time leverage, because then you can get in your feminine and you can flow and
Yes.
be creative. And so for me too, like I honestly think about it's like, what does a 200K month business actually look like? Like
Mm.
what offers, what boundaries, like what team, like the structural
Okay, go
things.
into boundaries. Like, what does that mean? Because I feel like there's something there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna laugh at this. So when I first started my signature program, I gave them 7 days a week of one-to-one access with me.
You didn't know.
That's not
You just
scalable.
didn't know. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, it's like
no.
you were No, you cannot. No.
Uh,
So
but I
you
was
were,
like, I will
yeah,
do anything it takes and I want them to
yes,
be successful and it worked. But
yeah,
yeah, so that was a big thing was like scaling back. Like honestly, it was almost like giving less but making it more potent as far as
yeah,
like my time and like even in my mastermind I used to give them like full, ask questions like any day of the week. Now we just have 2 days a week of Q&A days and people are way more plugged in. They ask better questions and some of it's that
yeah,
self-leadership too, like giving people the space to figure it out on their own.
yeah, yeah. That is like everything that you're saying. I'm picturing the entire thing, and like it's like you were giving and pouring in, and sometimes it's like the mother archetype where it's like
Mhm.
we're literally hand holding, and sometimes people need that. It's
Yeah.
nice to have that, but also it is disempowering.
Yeah.
It's like that person wants to step into their leadership, but doing what we believe or what we believed will, the empathy
Mhm.
actually, they're like, when do I step into what you have? Because that's what I want too.
Yeah.
So you're doing the scripting, you're doing the tapping, the 369. So for anyone who doesn't understand what 369 means, will you explain what that means?
Yeah. So it is this essentially a manifestation method. I'm sure you can chime in too if I don't do a good job explaining, but the premise is in the morning you write down 3 times, you future pace in the present tense, what it is. So for me, when I was working on those 100K months, it's like I'm a 100K month CEO and I would rotate or like thank you for my 100K month. So it's like you're basically telling your subconscious it's already happened. So you write it down 3 times in the morning, you write it down 6 times in the afternoon, and you write it down 9 times in the evening. And there's something, it's with like Nikolai Tesla,
Yes,
some kind
yes,
of a
yes.
science with that. And also with it takes 17 seconds for like your subconscious to absorb something. And so I think there's something to do with like the act of writing it down that many times is like how long it takes to absorb into your subconscious. And you do it every day. And it is so wild, you guys, because in the fall of 2022, I was doing my 20K months and I still have that journal and it legit happened. And then I was like, I'm going to go to 100K months and I have that journal too. And it like literally happened months later. Like there's
For
something to
you,
that.
when all this was happening and you're a mother, what are your kids doing? Like they're seeing you focused, they're seeing you dedicated and determined. Had they seen that version of mom before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that for any moms that are listening is like, let it be messy, let it be chaotic, let yourself be interrupted. Like there's going to be no perfect time, but now. And I've never like had my own office. I started from the kitchen table for like the first 12, 13 months. And then now I'm in the playroom and like our house is
Yeah.
small. I don't even have a door I can shut to do this.
You don't
Um,
need any of that stuff.
no.
No.
Yeah. And but yeah, so kind of how before I started my own business, I was actually in the direct sales industry.
Mhm.
And a couple years into that, I just had decided that I'm like, I just want to be really successful.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna do what it takes and like do the things that the big leaders are doing. And sure enough, like I hit #1 in the sales spot in the company and got to do all those
What
things.
is direct sales?
It's like network marketing, social
Okay.
selling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you were just like watching the leaders and you were like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna duplicate. Like your mind was like, the fact that you like there's some people that don't see that. They're like, "Oh, that's great for them." And they're going to have that. And then there's other people that are like watching keenly and they're like, "If they can do it, I can do it." So
Yeah.
like having that mindset already, was that something that you developed or something that was grown in like the household you grew up
I would say some of it is the household.
in? Mhm.
Like both of my parents grew up super poor in New York, and they both put themselves through advanced education beyond just a bachelor's degree. And like my dad lost his mom when he was 10, and like he went on to become a doctor. And so I think there was always like a high standard of achievement, which is like a whole nother conversation for how that affects a child.
Totally.
But I would say we were always pushed or
Yeah.
encouraged to like stand out, achieve, like be involved, get good grades,
Mhm.
and whatnot. And so for sure, like even in my career before children, I was always pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
it's just like, I don't know, in my mind, I'm like, if you know what's possible for you, why would you not do that? Like in
Absolutely.
my
Yes.
DNA, I can't just be complacent.
Yeah, and also it's like sometimes it is the house you grew up in, but sometimes it's like the worst homes
Yeah,
can motivate a person to become the best humans
100%.
ever because of what they grew up with. So there
Yeah,
is like that like grit and that thing in you that
yeah,
will also show those little girls like
yeah.
look how powerful and successful you can be and just like when you put your mind to something and how fast it can happen. And so like is there what happens when you quantum leap so fast? Like, what does your husband think?
Okay, this is a whole nother funny story. So, my husband I mean, he loves the business, but what I'll say is we're opposite in every single way. He has a great corporate career. He's very
Uh-huh.
logical, analytical, like everything needs to have logic and reason and data. Otherwise, you don't move, you don't make the decision.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, which I feel like a lot of marriages, it's like one person's like, woo, and the other's like, which is totally us. So,
Totally.
I had told him in the fall of 2022, and funny enough, he was actually the one because he was seeing me bust my booty in direct sales, and he was the one who said, "All that time and energy you're putting into someone else's business, why not put that into your own?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, but, like, what do
Yeah,
I do?"
love that he just threw that in there.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
here's the funny part is then a couple months later, I'm like doing the thing, I feel like I was in college. I was learning so much and implementing. I had to go first. I wasn't yet seeing like success in the business. But I had told him, I'm like, I'm gonna build a 30K month business. And he looked at me like I had ears coming out of my forehead and like horns out of my shoulders. But he actually laughed and not in a nice way. And he was like, "That's just unrealistic. That's gonna set you up to fail. That's toxic." Like, out of love and
Had to
concern.
just go like this.
Yeah.
Like when
Well,
those thoughts come at you, it's like
yeah,
you create tunnel vision.
totally. Well,
Yeah.
that's what I did. I decided I'm gonna do it anyways, but I'm not gonna tell him about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna do it while he's at work. And so for 1 year I grinded. I didn't tell him. He knew I was building, but I didn't he would ask and I would just be really vague. Meanwhile, it's like starting to blow up. And 1 year later, I just held out my phone. I said, "Okay, babe, look what I did." And, it was like, I think we just had like a 40 to 50K month. And he was just like, "What?" But I think he was like, "This changes everything." Like now what I'm working on, because we used the income that I had done thus far to like finish our project property and make it into a horse property. And I just bought my dream horse and
Oh
all the
my
things. And
God.
now I'm going to fund a new house build in cash. And so he's like, "Okay, like this actually changes things." And so I think men just like need to see it because they're
Oh
like,
yeah.
"That's great, but like, are you
Yes,
actually going to do that?"
yes. They don't want talk. They
Hmm.
want to see the results. And you're like, listen, bro, it might take some time, but let me show you. Cause you're like, you don't even want to think about them. You're like, you want to prove it to yourself.
Yeah.
And then you're like, just come look at that. Gave me full body goosebumps because I can imagine like the pride you felt from creating that on your own. And then with him seeing it and being shocked, like that is a moment in time.
Yeah.
That is
And he
humongous.
was like totally blindsided. Like, I don't think
No, he didn't expect. He was like,
no.
"Oh, okay, sister, keep going."
Yeah.
So now that you've reached this level of, thinking and believing and success in your business, now what's coming?
Yeah,
Where are you going now?
for sure.
Like any new offers, or are they just being
Mhm.
fine-tuned?
Yeah, both really.
Yeah.
We have so I started out with a program called Mom to VI, where I help moms launch, book out, and scale their virtual assistant businesses to 5K months. Cause that's what I found that actually like indirect sales, it was great, but like income was like this. I'm like hitting the number one sales spot in the company was the commissions was a monthly grocery bill as a family of five. So I found the VA industry. I was like, this is amazing, consistent, tangible income every month. Built the coaching program that scaled really fast. And but now it's kind of like it's still that, but we're elevating the messaging and the positioning to really own not just the virtual assistant industry, but also the hiring. So I also help entrepreneurs build and place their teams from the 300 VAs that I've trained to scale them to seven figures. And I also have a virtual assistant agency myself, so people can, hire VAs through me and also have my support in scaling their business. And so really that's the vision is to like do one thing well
Yeah.
that then you eventually like you own the industry and from all angles. But I also like I'm gonna be on the Today Show at some point and I'm gonna write a best-selling book and like just go speak on stages around the world. That's kind of what I see.
Yeah. What is your book going to be about?
Gosh, I've had so many iterations. Last fall, when I started kind of thinking about it, mapping it out, it was going to be called Her Little Side Hustle and kind of
Mm.
this narrative on like, women are like, I'm going to do this thing. And everyone's like, oh, that's cute. And then you go just like go make casually make more than your husband in your first year. Like,
Well, and like
but
when you said that, I saw the cover of you showing the phone and him being like,
yeah.
wouldn't that be so? Okay, so that's one iteration. What's another iteration?
Yeah. Well, then the next one was almost more of this personal power and like how every like the analogy like you hold a seed on your hand, like a tree, and then you plant like so basically every single seed already contains the tree, and it's you plant the seed, it's going to turn into this majestic tall tree. I believe every single human also has that inside them, and it looks different for everyone, but basically like everyone has a seven-figure business inside of them. And but it was a lot on like personal power and like femininity. It was going to be called Sovereign. So I don't know if that's another book. I felt like I was trying to like bring these to life and it just didn't feel like the
Totally.
right time. And so I
Yeah.
just kind of paused, and when
Yeah.
the time is right, the book will write itself,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure.
it will. You'll write it in like a week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I still love that first little one where it's like, because that to me is like such badass. Like we
Yeah.
want a lot of badass women, like
Yeah.
especially with the age we're in where women are rising really fast.
Yeah.
And we need that. Like we want that, we need that. And I still feel like there's half of the world, I don't know if it's the world or the country or whatever, but it feels like women still don't know that yet, or
Mhm.
they have like little speckles here and there, but
Yeah.
that book could be super cool. Yeah, that could be like the thing that lights the match, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
So that is epic. And then you're gonna be on the Today Show. So someone listening to this who are you kind of looking for people who need to build a team of support and like that's what's happening right now, and so you want to just like you said you're going to be the industry's like queen, so let's bring the people to you who is going to fit into your offers right now the best, and the people that are listening are going to know exactly, oh my god, I'm that person, what are they thinking right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first, and we're also broadening beyond moms. So, I would say anyone who wants to build their own business, wants consistent, tangible income. I've also found the virtual assistant industry is the best place to get your toes dipped into the world of business, to work with business owners, see how their businesses are run. So even if someday you want to be a coach, but you want that like bridge income,
Yeah.
but also you can virtual assistant businesses are completely scalable too. You don't have to trade your time for money. So that would be one. So someone who wants consistent, tangible income, using the skill set they already have and flexible hours. Now, on the other side, for entrepreneurs who maybe are doing all the things in their business, they feel like they're working way too much. They think they need to be good at everything. That's simply a myth. And one of the biggest flexes in entrepreneurship and running your business is you staying in your zone of genius in the high impact needle moving activities. It's like that analogy of like if you're in the forest, you can't see beyond you.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of business owners find themselves in the weeds, and they're spending all day on like the day-to-day operations and answering emails in their DMs. There's more important things and bigger things you should be doing to run your business. So if anyone's feeling that way, that is what I have a mastermind, also the agency. Like if you want to scale your business, but you don't want to have to work more or harder to do that, you need to hire a team. And so whether it's hiring someone from my agency or me building and placing your team, or if you want obviously like business coaching support too, I also do that. Yeah, it's just like full spectrum. Like,
I
let's go
love
scale
it,
your
but
business
it's
wherever
like,
you're at.
yeah, it's like scale your business with support.
Yes.
That's it's like
Yeah.
and like you said, you have thrived in the masculine, and the masculine is needed so much,
Mhm.
especially if you're like a healer or a spiritual entrepreneur. It's like we're already so good at the feminine. What we really need is someone who
Yes.
can go in and structure and do the systems, because even when I hear the word systems, I'm like, ugh, like it
Yeah.
makes it's like bristle. But if someone else is doing it, I'm like, thank you so much. Like that is
Right.
exactly what you want. So Bree, epic. We're gonna put all your contact in the show notes. Is there like just like a little Bree talk that you want to just like one sentence or one intention you want to leave people with as they are cascading to their new levels in business and income, and like anything you just want to kind of leave as like a footprint for people who are listening and who can see that for themselves but maybe haven't like they've been grinding for a lot of years, like what's your just
Mhm.
little tip to get
Mhm.
them knowing that it's possible for them too?
Yeah. I would say to stop thinking rationally. that you're probably trying to think about the how and the structure and the strategy, and that will come when you go completely out of the box. One of my favorite books is 10x is easier than 2x by Dr. Ben Hardy. It's amazing. But basically, it's like when you think big and then bigger, that's because you don't know the solution, you don't know the how. And so you're going to have to tap into your intuition, your creativity, like the divine trust, and you just moving and figuring it out. That's what's going to grow your business. And so, like you said, it's like if anyone who's listening feels like they've been in it and like it's just not working, like you're probably just thinking too realistically and logically. Like go F things up, shake it up a little bit, make
Yes.
your goals bigger, like stretch
Hell yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.